Hey guys, welcome to a special episode of Retro Hardware. Now, normally we talk about home consoles or handheld consoles, but today, in honor of our new Street Fighter web series, we're going to talk about arcade hardware, Capcom's CPS3 system. The CPS3 was Capcom's last proprietary arcade hardware that it released. It was the successor to the CPS1 and CPS2 system. The CPS1 system was home to the legendary Street Fighter II series. The CPS1 also ran great titles like Forgotten Worlds, Strider, Ghouls and Ghosts, and Final Fight. The CPS1's main drawback was that it was very easy to bootleg, and it's rumored that in certain countries, the number of bootleg versions of Street Fighter II actually outnumbered the official Capcom release. Remember all those crazy hack versions of Street Fighter II? To remedy this problem, Capcom released the CPS2 system, which, in addition to improved specs, also offered copy protection in the form of encrypted chips. The first title released for the CPS2 was Super Street Fighter II, and it also had other titles like the Street Fighter Alpha series and Aliens vs. Predator. In 1996, Capcom introduced the CPS3 system. It had an even more complex copy protection system and sported improved specs. Let's take a look at the hardware components of the CPS3. You have the motherboard. Some versions look like this, in which the motherboard is shielded by a metal case. On the motherboard, you have the SIMs, which store the game. Attached to the motherboard, you have a standard SCSI CD-ROM drive. Here are a couple of CPS3 CDs. Lastly, and most importantly, here are some CPS3 security cartridges. So here's how the CPS3 system works. You plug in the cartridge over here. The first time it powers up, the system validates the security cartridge against the key on the CD, and then it writes the game onto the SIMs. Each subsequent boot up goes through the same cartridge CD validation process before booting the game. The problem is that the security cartridge has a battery in it, and when that battery dies, so does the encryption key, and you're left with a heaping pile of worthless junk. Here's what happens when your cartridge's battery dies. You get the CPS3 screen of scrambled death. If this happened, your only option was to send the cartridge back to Capcom to get it resurrected. Unfortunately, Capcom USA stopped supporting the arcade scene ages ago. So, nowadays, your only hope is if you have the Japanese version of a cartridge, 5,000 yen, and a hookup in Japan, you can get it fixed. Otherwise, you're out of luck. I think the CPS3 failed ultimately because of its complexity. Compared to the prior CPS2 system, which had a simple A and B board system, the CPS3 had rewritable SIMs, security cartridges, CD-ROMs. All of this frustrated arcade owners. In all, only 6 games were released for the CPS3 system. They were all fighters, and 5 of them were later ported to the Dreamcast and PlayStation. The first game that came out for the CPS3 was Red Earth, or Warzard as it was called overseas. Like many Capcom games, it had fantastic artwork, and due to the increased power of the CPS3 system, it had fantastic animation. What set Red Earth apart, in addition to being a cool fighter, was the fact that it had RPG elements, so you gain experience points and unlock more moves as you progress throughout the game. It also had a password feature so you could keep all these experience points and moves the next time you started the game. Lastly, Red Earth took a page out of Mortal Kombat's book, and you had these awesome cool finishing moves. Unfortunately, Red Earth tanked at the arcades. I don't think people were ready for this unusual fighting game RPG hybrid. Players were also probably frustrated by the fact that you could only select from 4 playable characters, despite the fact that there are 8 additional characters that you battle throughout the game. So, because of this, Red Earth is actually the only CPS3 game that wasn't ported to home consoles. Thankfully, there are emulators available if you want to play the game. After Red Earth, you had 2 JoJo's Bizarre Adventure games released for the CPS3. It's based on a Japanese manga. And lastly, you had 3 iterations of Street Fighter 3. New Generation, Second Impact, and my favorite, Third Strike. Third Strike had a couple of versions in the arcade. First off, you had the different region versions, Asia, Japan, Europe. The biggest difference is that in the Asia version, all of the Japanese sounds are censored, so you lose Ryu's and Ibuki's battle sounds. Region aside, the first version of Third Strike that was released had unblockables from Urien and Oro, and also had a Ken KO glitch involving Ibuki. The second version of Third Strike patches these glitches, but most people prefer to play the one with unblockables. Despite the beefier hardware that boasted some incredible animation and sprite size, the CPS3 never really caught on, and Capcom developers actually went back to the CPS2 to develop more games. So games like Marvel vs. Capcom 1, Puzzle Fighter, Street Fighter Alpha 3 all use CPS2 hardware. But I'll always have a soft spot for CPS3 hardware because of its killer app, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. So this is actually some breaking news. A guy named 64 Darksoft has been working on reviving CPS3 dead security cartridges. His biggest progress so far is that he's actually released a tool to patch CPS3 CD-ROMs. So you can pretty much play any CPS3 game if you have one working CPS3 security cartridge, which is really cool for me because my Third Strike cartridge actually died ages ago. Its battery died. I do have a working Street Fighter 3 new generation cart, so with this tool I'll be able to patch Third Strike ISO and be able to play Third Strike again on my CPS3 hardware. So that's pretty cool. We'll include a link to his blog. He has a donation page. It's pretty cool. Okay guys, so don't forget to check out the Street Fighter web series. I was on set for a couple of days, so you may catch me in a couple scenes. It's super cool, directed by the talented Lane Pavogi. That's all the time we got for today. Happy collecting.